Good. So I'm gonna be going over the stocks I'm gonna be looking to get into next week, whether that's swing positions, intraday, etc., etc. All right. So one of the first positions that one of the main stocks that I'm going to be looking for going into next week primarily is going to be Google, Alphabet Inc., Class C. Okay. So first, looking at the hourly time frame, obviously we can see that we've been pretty bullish. We've had a couple of choppy areas and then very strong breakouts back to the buy side with some longevity from those breakouts. And recently within this week, we had the exact same thing where price came up, formed a higher high, higher low, and then basically kind of went sideways and then eventually had another strong breakout back above. And then we also, in the process, we did form a possible lower high while also mixing in this higher low off this strong rejection from this market open gap from, I believe, yesterday, while also rejecting off of these structural highs over here and this Monday high from the beginning of this week. Okay. Now, why I say a possible structural lower high, because if price wants to break back down to the sell side, then this is going to be treated as a lower high, considering that this high is lower than the previous high over here. And if we come down, then we will be taking out these lows, making a lower low than those previous minor structural lows. Okay. Now, what I'm mainly looking for is a strong breakout above this high right here and a strong push above and close above this daily open from yesterday. Because if we can get those things, then we could definitely see price run up all the way up to these just about 1 hour equal highs. And I definitely see this running up to 188.12, possibly 188.5. I'd say as max as 188.77 within the day. But longevity wise, in regards of possibly swinging this further out, depending on entry, going to the daily, we did have a recent pullback and then obviously a jump up. But I would definitely say we could definitely see this run up closer to around 191.5 up to this yearly open. I think that's very feasible. If not that, then definitely within the 190 range is about as far as I'm seeing Google get to before we see another possible pullback, considering the structural levels in place, the higher time frame primary liquidity at exactly 190. And I think that's exactly what I'll probably be looking for. So depending on overall entry when it comes to getting into this trade, probably go a little bit heavy in regards to taking this trade and then taking partials around 187.79 or 188.12 and then holding like a medium to low risk runner, possibly as far up as this yearly open at 191.54, but most likely just going to be looking to get out around this 190 area. And that's going to be with Google. That's the main stock that I'm going to be looking at. Now, the next stock that I'm going to be looking at also has a very good longevity like look. Okay, and this is Papa John's Pizza. You feel what I'm saying? So recently within this week, we had a really, really big chop. Then we formed a higher low than the previous low and then had a strong breakout above, forming a higher high. But the reasoning behind that is simply because price is due for a pullback on the daily time frame. Now, as far as I see price getting pullback wise, could have been where we closed at yesterday, but I could definitely see this running up as far as like 445.91. I'd be very surprised, but not too surprised if we saw this get to the previous week lows and Monday low right over here at 46.54. But most likely looking to expect this to get anywhere between this 445 to close to $47 range in regards to the pullback. I don't think we're going to pull back that far. But then going back to the 1 hour with a strong break below this 43.60 structural level, definitely going to see this run down to this primary liquidity over here at 42.97, and then most likely get stuck at this previous quarter mid / current year mid and this unfilled market open gap is most likely where we'll see price get stuck at. Obviously, if price rips further down, then we could definitely see this get close to like the yearly open. But that's overall what I'm going to be looking for amongst the pullback, because we did form a lower high with this close, but I could definitely see this, form a little bit steeper of a lower high, structurally speaking. And then a strong break below this level could definitely see this run all the way down to this gap. And long term, I don't really think we'll see it run down that far. I think the furthest we might see this get to is close to like the $39 range, but I don't even think we'll see price get that far. I think the furthest we're really going to see price get before it possibly chops or reverses its overall structure higher time frame is most likely going to be between this previous quarter mid to yearly open is the most likelihood. But that's basically what I'm going to be looking for. Not really looking to catch that pullback because there's no really telling, no telling how steep it might even pull back. But definitely going to be looking for price to show the signs that we're going to look to seek to continue this overall bearish structure all the way down to this completely unfilled gap, higher time frame liquidity, etc., etc. And then the last two stocks I'm going to be looking at, going to Palantir. Since we're already on the daily, let's start with the daily. Actually, no, let's go to the 1 hour really quick. Going to the 1 hour time frame, we can obviously see that Palantir has been in some pretty beautiful bullish structure with this continuation, higher highs and higher lows nonstop. And I think there's a really good chance that we will see Palantir continue this, possibly eventually going to the daily. Going to the daily time frame, the reason why I say possibly is because Palantir is pretty overextended and is due for a pullback close to this previous month high. I would say most likely anywhere between this previous month high to this previous week high. But going to the 1 hour time frame, I think what's really going to signify that overall pullback is price moving bullish to form a new all-time high at 155.68 above. And then price is most likely going to wick that, come down, take out this higher low so it can shift structure to the sell side on the 1 hour to form an overall pullback, form a higher low, a structural pullback on a higher time frame like the daily, again, close to anywhere between this previous month high to previous week high. And I think that's what we're going to see. So I think there will be a pretty good short-term move with Palantir to all-time highs, especially above this 154.64. And if it can suffice above this daily open, I think there's good potential to see this get to like 156, maybe even close to the 157s. But I think what's most likely going to happen is price is going to break all that, form the new all-time high, and then most likely wick it and then come crashing down, taking out this higher low, basically something like this, taking out that higher low, shifting to bearish structure until it gets to those current levels, and then eventually shifting back into bullish structure all the way back up to all-time highs. It's what I'm most likely expecting, considering how price is setting up, and again, considering how overextended the overall daily time frame is for Palantir. So that's not the main stock that I'm currently caring about, simply because it is overextended. And the only really possibility is pretty of a short-term move, meaning it'd have to be some pretty heavy contracts, and even that's still risky because you don't even know if price might juke out the all-time highs and then come crashing down. But besides that, going to NVIDIA also has been continuing some pretty good bullish structure, continuing to form higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. And considering how we set up off of this rejection of this market open gap from yesterday and this structural level right here, a strong push above this 172.77, very similar to Palantir, or very similar to I think it was Google or Palantir, regardless of the possible lower high. If we can get a strong break above this structural high here at 172.77, only thing to really worry about is this daily open. But if price can get past that, then we'll definitely see price get up to 174.27. Form a new all-time high, and then most likely get as far as this 27 extension fib extension at around 174.69. So we'll just say about 175. But going to the daily time frame, again, very similar to Palantir, NVIDIA is pretty decently overextended. Yes, it's had some pullback recently, but it's been having some pretty decent gap ups and continuations up to the buy side. I do think there is potential to see this get to 176 before we see this drop close to like the previous week high. Again, very similar like Palantir. I think there's probably a good probable chance that we'll see a short-term bullish move to around 175, and then eventually, probably amongst that, we'll see price come crashing down to this previous week high, maybe even as deep as this Monday high to weekly open, essentially looking to fill in this gigantic gap, basically. And that's another possibility. But overall, the main stocks I'm going to be looking for is Google and Papa John's. Those are the main two stocks that I'm primarily focused on. Google isn't too overextended on the daily time frame and has a lot of potential, especially structurally speaking, after its most recent pullback on the daily time frame, which was within this week. Has a lot of potential to get up close to the 190 range. Probably going to look to swing this depending on entry. And then Papa John's also has a lot of good potential, which also possibly could get swung all the way down to this, close to this previous quarter mid, down to this unfilled gap from, I believe this was May 27th. And then my least favorable stocks, and I'm probably not really going to be focused on too much because, again, I think that it might have a short-term bullish move and then shifted structure to pull back on the daily time frame. Is going to be Palantir and Nvidia. Again, there are some pretty short-term, probably probable bullish moves to form new all-time highs. But considering how overextended it is, I think that's going to be a really, really short-term move. And then it's going to shift structure on the hourly just to pull back and form a higher low, structurally speaking, on like the daily. So the main stocks I'm going to be looking at again is going to be Google and Pizza. All of these stocks have really good contracts, especially when it comes to cost compared to delta, and then cost compared to delta, compared to gamma, compared to theta. When it comes to swinging your positions, et cetera, et cetera, you know, it's not going to be like some stocks where you're going to drop $1,000 and you might get like a 0.02 delta. That's freaking new guys. It's nothing. But, you know, definitely some good looks over here, especially with Google and Pizza. That's just what I'm going to be looking at. You feel what I'm saying? Hope this video was helpful. Hope this video might help you make some freaking schmeckles. You feel what I'm saying? Because KL worked out perfectly from the watch list stuff that I mentioned, how far I saw it get into. Had a beautiful swing. If you're not on the Instagram, go follow the Instagram. Caught 80% off the dump down to continue its bearish structure. And yeah, but I give all praise and all glory to God. And yeah, hope this video was helpful. Go subscribe, go follow the Instagram, go join the Discord, etc., etc. God bless, and I'll see y'all next time.